You think you know what a coincidence is, right? Well, prepare to have your mind absolutely blown, because what I'm about to tell you will make you question reality itself. These aren't just random lucky moments or, oh, what a small world stories. These are coincidences so impossible, so mathematically improbable, that scientists still can't explain them. And the most terrifying part? Some of these might not be coincidences at all. Друзья, напишите в комментариях, откуда вы нас смотрите, и ставьте лайк, если хотите узнать, что же самое удивительное и неожиданное. Let me start with something that happened in 1975 that still gives researchers nightmares. Anthony Hopkins, the famous actor, was cast to play a character based on a book by George Pfeiffer. Hopkins desperately wanted to read the book before filming, so he searched every bookstore in London. Nothing. Completely sold out everywhere. Not a single copy to be found in the entire city. Frustrated, Hopkins decided to take the train home. He sat down on the bench, feeling defeated, when something caught his eye. There, just sitting next to him, was the exact book he'd been hunting for. Not just any copy, this specific book had notes written in the margins, personal notes, intimate thoughts about the characters and story. Hopkins was curious about who owned this book, so he decided to track down the author, George Pfeiffer. When they finally met, Pfeiffer looked at the book and went completely white. Those handwritten notes, they were his personal copy that he had lost months earlier. Think about this for a second. In a city of 8 million people, what are the odds? Hopkins couldn't find the book anywhere in dozens of bookstores, but the universe somehow placed the author's personal lost copy right next to him. But that's nothing compared to what happened to the Simpsons family in Detroit. Not the cartoon family, a real family named Simpsons living on Elm Street. In 1987, their 15-year-old daughter Sarah didn't come home from school. Hours passed, then days. The police launched a massive search operation. They checked every friend's house, every place she might go, interviewed hundreds of people. For 3 weeks, Sarah Simpsons had vanished without a trace. Her parents were losing their minds with worry. And then something incredible happened. The phone rang at exactly 3:17 a.m. The voice on the other end was shaky, confused, almost whispering. "Mom, I think I'm ready to come home now." It was Sarah. But when her mother asked where she was, Sarah's answer made no sense. "I'm at Jennifer's house. We've been studying for the math test tomorrow." Her mother's blood ran cold. Jennifer was Sarah's best friend. Jennifer, who had been frantically helping search for Sarah for 3 weeks. Jennifer, who swore she hadn't seen Sarah since the day she disappeared. When Sarah's parents arrived at Jennifer's house, they found their daughter calmly doing homework. She looked exactly the same as 3 weeks ago. Same clothes, same hairstyle, even the same pen in her hand. But here's where it gets absolutely terrifying. Sarah had no memory of being gone. None whatsoever. To her, she had left school that afternoon and gone straight to Jennifer's house to study. She insisted that only 4 hours had passed, not 3 weeks. Jennifer's family was just as confused. They swore Sarah had just arrived that afternoon. They had no memory of her being there for 3 weeks. Medical examinations showed something even more disturbing. Sarah showed no signs of having lived for 3 weeks. Her hair hadn't grown. Her fingernails were exactly the same length. Even the small cut on her finger from the morning she disappeared was still fresh, as if those 3 weeks had never happened to her body. The police investigation hit a dead end because there was literally nothing to investigate. Sarah genuinely believed she had been at Jennifer's house the whole time, studying. But the most chilling part came when they checked Jennifer's school records. For those exact 3 weeks Sarah was missing, Jennifer had been marked absent from school every single day. Her teachers remembered her being gone. Her classmates confirmed she wasn't there. Yet Jennifer's family insisted she had been home, studying with Sarah. 2 different realities, 2 different timelines, and nobody could explain how both could be true simultaneously. But wait, because the Lincoln assassination coincidences will make you believe in something beyond our understanding. Everyone knows John Wilkes Booth shot Lincoln at Ford's Theatre in 1865. But what most people don't know is that Lincoln's son, Robert Todd Lincoln, was there that night. He witnessed his father's assassination. Traumatic enough, right? But the universe wasn't done with Robert Lincoln. 16 years later, in 1881, Robert was serving as Secretary of War. President James Garfield invited him to join him at the Baltimore and Potomac Railway Station. As they walked through the station, a man approached from behind. Charles Guiteau pulled out a gun and shot President Garfield. Robert Todd Lincoln had now witnessed 2 presidential assassinations. The odds of being present at 2 presidential assassinations by pure chance, astronomically impossible. But somehow, it got even more impossible. 20 years passed. Robert Lincoln, now older and wiser, had become president of the Pullman Company. In September 1901, President William McKinley invited him to the Pan American Exposition in Buffalo. Robert hesitated. Something deep inside him whispered warnings about presidential gatherings. But duty called, and he reluctantly agreed to attend the exposition with McKinley. On September 6th, they arrived at the Temple of Music Pavilion. President McKinley was greeting visitors in a receiving line when Leon Czolgosz approached. The assassin fired 2 shots into McKinley's chest at point-blank range. Robert Todd Lincoln had now witnessed 3 presidential assassinations in his lifetime. The mathematical probability of this happening by pure chance, 1 in several billion, basically impossible in any rational universe. After McKinley's death, Robert Lincoln made a chilling decision. He would never again accept another presidential invitation for the rest of his life. "I'm not going," he reportedly told friends. "There's a curse on me." And indeed, no American president died by assassination during Robert's remaining 35 years. Coincidence? Or did Robert Lincoln somehow carry death's shadow with him? But presidential assassinations weren't the only impossible coincidences in history. In 1838, Edgar Allan Poe wrote The Narrative of Arthur Gordon Pym. In his fictional story, 4 shipwrecked sailors resort to cannibalism to survive. They draw lots, and a cabin boy named Richard Parker becomes their victim. 46 years later, in 1884, a real ship called the Mignonette sank. 4 real sailors found themselves stranded in a lifeboat for 19 days. Starving and desperate, they made the horrific decision to cannibalize their weakest member. The victim's name? Richard Parker, exactly as Poe had written decades earlier. How did Poe predict this specific tragedy with such precise detail? The sailors' names, the situation, even the victim's identity, all identical. Was Poe somehow glimpsing the future through his fiction? Or do certain tragic patterns repeat themselves across time in impossible ways? Speaking of impossible patterns, let me tell you about the Titanic's fictional twin. 14 years before the Titanic sank, author Morgan Robertson published Futility. His novel described a massive, unsinkable ship called the Titan. The Titan struck an iceberg in the North Atlantic and sank with massive loss of life. The parallels between fiction and reality are absolutely mind-boggling. Both ships were called unsinkable. Both were the largest of their time. Both carried around 3,000 people. Both had insufficient lifeboats. Both struck icebergs on April nights in the North Atlantic. The Titan was 800 feet long. The Titanic was 882 feet. The Titan's top speed was 25 knots. The Titanic's was 24 knots. Both ships had 3 propellers and insufficient watertight compartments. How could Robertson predict such specific technical details? The similarities are so precise that some believe Robertson accessed alternate timelines. Others think certain tragic events cast shadows backward through time. But coincidences aren't limited to historical tragedies. They happen in modern life too. In 1975, a man in Detroit was killed when a taxi struck him. His name was Erskine Lawrence Ebbin, and he was riding a moped. Exactly 1 year later, his brother Neville was riding the same moped, on the same street, at almost the same time of day. The same taxi driver struck and killed Neville Ebbin. The taxi was carrying the same passenger as the year before. What are the odds of this exact scenario repeating? 2 brothers, same moped, same street, same taxi, same driver, same passenger. The universe seemed determined to replay this tragedy with surgical precision. But perhaps the most spine-chilling coincidence involves the Kennedy family. Abraham Lincoln was elected to Congress in 1846. John F. Kennedy was elected to Congress in 1946, exactly 100 years later. Lincoln was elected president in 1860. Kennedy in 1960. Both presidents were shot on Fridays. Both were shot in the head. Lincoln was shot in Ford's Theater. Kennedy was shot in a Ford Lincoln car. Both were succeeded by vice presidents named Johnson. Andrew Johnson was born in 1808. Lyndon Johnson was born in 1908. Lincoln's secretary was named Kennedy. Kennedy's secretary was named Lincoln. Lee Harvey Oswald shot Kennedy from a warehouse, then hid in a theater. John Wilkes Booth shot Lincoln in a theater, then hid in a warehouse. The patterns are so precise, they seem deliberately designed by cosmic forces, as if history itself follows hidden scripts written by invisible hands. These coincidences force us to question everything we think we know about reality. Are we living in a simulation where patterns repeat themselves? Do parallel universes occasionally bleed through into our timeline? Or is the universe far stranger and more connected than we dare imagine? Perhaps consciousness itself shapes reality in ways science hasn't discovered yet. Maybe what we call coincidences are actually glimpses of deeper truths. The next time something impossible happens in your life, remember these stories. You might be witnessing the universe's hidden architecture revealing itself. Or perhaps you're playing your part in someone else's impossible coincidence. Because in a universe where Robert Lincoln witnessed 3 assassinations by chance, where Edgar Allan Poe predicted the future with impossible accuracy, and where the Titanic's fate was written 14 years before it sailed, nothing is truly impossible, and everything might be connected in ways beyond comprehension. The question isn't whether these coincidences are real. They absolutely are. The question is what they tell us about the true nature of reality itself.